Доброго дня, це медіа-центр.
Good afternoon, this is Media Center Ukraine, Odesa. We're continuing our working day, and now we are having representatives of the German NGO, Mission Lifeline. Together with them, we have today Oleh Mykhaylyk, the chairman of Charitable Foundation, Plich-o-Plich, side by side, the partner of Mission Lifeline in our region. We also have with us Hermine Poschmann, head of the German NGO Mission Lifeline, and Maxim Novitsky, the volunteer of the organization. So please share with us details of the work of the organization here in Ukraine. Hermine, the floor is yours.
Hello and thanks for the invitation. I'm Hermine Poschmann from German humanitarian aid organization Mission Lifeline, and we are now here in Odesa and had started a project with a shelter here in Odesa for refugees fleeing from the occupied region in Ukraine. And we also have another project where we deliver to older people food supply and hygienic products and so on. And yes, we as Mission Lifeline started already last year when this horrible war in Ukraine began. So I think the second day of the war we started to come to the border crossing point in Slovakia to support people on the move while they crossed the border, to support them with transportation to Germany and Austria. We worked together with some bus companies and also with private persons that were supporting to help to bring the people to a safe place at least. And after this first big movement of people fleeing from Ukraine, we realized that there was a completely broken infrastructure for medical support in Ukraine. And the hospitals were running out of medicine and so on. And then we had a cooperation with German pharmacies, for example, and also German hospitals, where we could deliver medicine and medical supply to different hospitals in the whole Ukraine. And then while we were working in Ukraine, we made some partnerships also with organizations in Ukraine, because as you maybe know, we as a German organization, we don't know what is happening exactly here, how the people are working, how the infrastructure is set up. And so we are happy that we are now working together with Plich-o-Plich and that we met Oleh. And we got a lot of donations actually from Germany, from German donators and also international donations. And we now try to set up with these donations long-term projects, because as you know, maybe that this war is maybe going on a little bit longer than expected, unfortunately. And so we try to put these donations in good and trustable places to support the people on the moves and the refugees as best as possible. So now finally we are here in Odesa, and as I mentioned, we have this shelter together where people that had to flee from the occupied regions can stay for a couple of days, can relax for a couple of days or even a couple of weeks, and organize themselves and try to find a place where they can stay longer, and maybe also for if they want to go further to foreign countries, to find a safe place where they can live at least until this war is over, or until they can go back to their homes. And yes, we have this shelter where they can stay. And the second project, what I mentioned, is a kind of delivery for older people, for people with disabilities that are already living in Odesa and got some places where they can live. And but at some point, the people can't go to points where they can collect food, hygienic projects or products, or stuff for their daily routines. So we have here in Odesa a small team that is organizing all the logistics for the delivery, for the shopping, and for the distribution to these people. And yes, we have Maxim here as representative for this team, and I'm really happy that they are working here properly, and that we as Mission Lifeline can support in a financial way to help those people to make their daily lives.
Дякую.
Thank you. Then we would like to ask Maxim to briefly share the details about the project supporting elderly people with disabilities and the project for temporary accommodation of IDPs in Odesa. Maxim, the floor is yours. Thank you. Good afternoon to everyone. The project for people with disabilities, as I see it, is very important, especially now. This is a project for the people who have already found places of accommodation in Odesa to stay safe, but of course they don't have enough resources, food, medication, etc. Just a small specific clarification. The people with disabilities who have arrived to Odesa, yes, who have arrived to Odesa, who have where the places where they can live. But the problem is that there is a significant lack of many products. In winter, when the enemy continues bombing our infrastructure, when there is no gas supply or power supply, this project is very important. And this is a tailored project. It uses individual approach to every person. So it's not just giving a box of humanitarian aid to people. People get what they really need. So we call these people, we ask them about their needs, we visit them, we know what they need. And then we're able to provide aid that they really need. What can I add? If we have additional questions, you will be able to answer them later. Now I would like to give floor to Oleh to speak about temporary accommodation of IDPs. Good afternoon. My name is Oleh Mykhaylyk. I'm a chairman of Charitable Foundation, Plich-o-Plich, and with the support of one of our most honored partners, namely the German NGO Mission Lifeline, even with a small team of people, we are able to start, maybe not to implement, but at least to start two projects. This is the Center for Temporary Accommodation of IDPs, and most of these people, we evacuate these people. The address is the Uspensk 17. These are the premises of Odesky Dvorik Hotel, and around 100 persons are able to find shelter there. So this means that 100 people will feel warm, and with the support of Mission Lifeline will get food. They are able to rest there, to recover, to decide what they want to do in the future. If you remember, we visited the media center with a woman with her beautiful children who stayed at that center. Everything is fine with that family. Thanks to our efforts, and with the support of our other partners, they left Ukraine for Romania under the UN program. They are in the safe place, and her children are able now to go to school. And we are thankful for this, and namely to the Mission Lifeline. We have already some statistics, because we have worked for more than 1 month already. I don't know what word I can choose, but more than 300 of people were accommodated in this center. More than 300 people were able to find safe future for them, either in other Ukrainian cities like Odesa or abroad. Anyway, these people are now safe. And I think that this is a significant achievement. The accommodation in our center is fully free of charge. People are able to get food, and then they have an opportunity to choose their future. It is very important that these people have time, not 3, 5, or 7 days, as in the most centers for temporary accommodation in Odesa. They can stay longer in our center to restore their documents, and there is no secret that most of them have lost their documents, and their documents have expired. so they need to get new documents. Or they can also get some legal, medical help, or they can just have some rest in a safe place. And everything is possible thanks to the support of our partners, Mission Lifeline. Tell us, please, how much time on average a family or a person stays in your center, if you have some statistics? Yes, sure, we already have some numbers. People are different. And this is the value of this center. Most people who head abroad to Poland, to Romania, they don't stay long in our center. They can stay for 1 or 2 days just to have some rest, to get ready, to pack all the things, to get together with the other people whom they are going to leave Ukraine with. For example, the next voyage for Romania will be on the next Friday. So these people don't stay long. Those people who need to get documents, and now we have a family who are ready to go abroad to Germany, but there is one issue, because there is a girl with a young woman with a disability, which is around 30 years old, and she stayed with the family, but unfortunately her aunt died, and now the husband of her aunt takes care of this girl, and so, but he has no legal grounds for this. This is a very complex issue. So we have addressed the court, and thanks to the lawyer that supports them, we are trying to solve the issue. And they have been staying in our center for about 1 month now. Usually people stay in our center for 5-10 days. Then they can either find a flat or go abroad. Thank you. Do we have any questions, Michael or your colleague?
To Hermine, I think.
Michael Wisher, Newsweek. I'll ask in English. How has your work changed over the course of the war? How has the developing situation on the battlefields affected who needs help among the civilian population? Recently we had the liberation of Kherson, followed by the repeated bombing of Kherson, continuing bombing of Kherson. I'm curious if you're seeing more and more people from that area coming to Odesa, if you're seeing people from the east ending up in Odesa. Where are the people coming from whom you are helping now? And how does that compare to the people you were helping in the early months of the war?
Так, секунду, зараз переклад закінчите. Так.
По-украински.
Говорите на украинском, Максим.
Окей.
Переводчик все переведет.
Так.
Yes, the situation really changes depending on the hostilities in all areas, in the south, in the north. For example, when Kherson was still liberated, Plich-o-Plich already evacuated people from Kherson. People were ready to leave Kherson, but at some point, when the Ukrainian armed forces were closer to Kherson, when the bridges were blown up, the situation with evacuation deteriorated. So it was almost impossible to evacuate people from there because of the hostilities from Kherson. But after liberation of Kherson, the enemy started bombing Kherson as they did in Mykhaylyk, and a lot of people decided to leave Kherson. And from small villages that have been completely destroyed, there is no infrastructure facilities there. And people also leave Ukraine, leave Kherson. So it was like in Mykhaylyk at the beginning of the war. And I believe that now most people that we have are from Kherson and Kherson Oblast. The same we can say about Donbass. People They come from there as well. The hostilities are active there in Bakhmut on Solidar. And of course, less people are coming from the territory because most of them stay in Zaporizhia or in Kyiv to go abroad then. We also have people from Donbass anyway, and they tell us their stories. And I would also like to add to this answer. Oh, no, we are not that dependent on the situation in Solidar or Bakhmut because these cities, the towns, have been already left by the people who wanted to do this, and Odesa is not the closest city for them. We are impacted by Kherson more. So at the beginning of the war, we offered free evacuation from Kherson and Kherson Oblast. At that moment, we calculated that we evacuated more than 2,500 people from occupied territories there. After the liberation of Kherson, we hoped that most people from Odesa will come back there. And that way we had such first wave of people coming back home in Kherson. But then we saw what is we see what is happening now. The city of Kherson itself and some of the villages are under constant bombardment and shelling, especially when it comes to villages along the river. And now, unfortunately, Kherson is almost an empty place. We have a memorandum with the Kherson military administration from the times when we organized evacuation from there. And according to the information we received from one of the officials there, we know that out of 300,000 residents of Kherson, around 60 people are still there. So these numbers are catastrophic. So the city is literally empty. I don't want to say that the city is dead. I was there on Friday, but the city needs our support, and the people who still there, people who live Kherson Oblast, they need our support. Most people who are coming to our center, unfortunately, want to go abroad. And the next stage of our partnership is evacuation for temporary accommodation abroad. We support people with this. But 90% of people are people from Kherson Oblast, from the dangerous places that are being shelled. And our partners even brought a family today from Antonovka. Our buses are not allowed to that village, to the town, because this is the suburbs of Kherson. It is closer to the river, and it is very dangerous to stay there, because every day enemy shells Antonovka. Unfortunately, the situation is that even now, these people need even more aid, even more help, comparing to the times when Kherson was occupied. Thank you. Do we have any other questions? Yes. Anatoly Kosin, Media Center, Ukraine, Odesa. Perhaps this is a question to Maxim, the question about the project supporting elderly people in Odesa. Can you share details about the project? When was it started? How many people you have already in the project to care about? How many volunteers do you have? How to get support from that project? And I would like to add that these are not only elderly people. The project covers all people with disabilities. The project started 2.5 months ago, if I'm not mistaken. Right, Oleg? Yes, we launched it in the mid of November, so it's for 2.5 months. You can write to us through the official Plich-o-Plich page. And if a person fits to the parameters of our project, we will, of course, help these people. Now, we have around 100 beneficiaries in our project. Some of them leave Ukraine, and others stay here, and we can visit them for several times. And actually, we first learn people's needs to help them properly. So now we have winter, the infrastructure has been shelled, and people just need blankets. Did I manage to answer your question? Yes. And how many volunteers do you have in your project? So usually we have 2 main volunteers. This is my wife Maria and Vitaly, so there are 2 of them. But of course, they all the time get support of our partners from Mission Lifeline. They come here. They help even to pack boxes, or we can go somewhere to purchase all that we need. So usually we have 2 volunteers on the permanent basis, and they also have some additional support. And we have a kind of a rotation team of Mission Lifeline that consists of 3-4 persons. And now, even now, the chief executive officer, the Amrei Drechsler, is also working here. That's why she couldn't come today, because she is now meeting with the children. She just learns how the project works. She communicates with the people and beneficiaries of the project. So this is a very important fortification of our work for both sides, for Plich-o-Plich, Mission Lifeline, and our beneficiaries. Hermine, I have a question to you. I think that you communicate with Ukrainian refugees who are now staying in Germany or heading to Romania. And there is a discussion now in the Ukrainian society is how many people will come back to Ukraine after the war is over? What is the percentage of people who will come back to Ukraine? How do you think, basing on what you've heard from that people, are they planning to come back, or have they been already integrated? Because Oleg mentioned the children go to school there, which is quite an important integration element. Are people ready to come back to Ukraine?
So what I have to say in general, when the war began and a lot of people came to Germany, so there was a big movement of solidarity from Germany, from German people. They spent their houses, they gave accommodation and so on. And I think also from the state side, it was completely different than other asylum seekers are treated usually in this kind of way. So the Ukrainian people got access to shelter, got access to accommodation, got access to school, to everything that you need, to social financing and so on. And I think that was really great. And but I think from the first instance on, the people that came to Germany from Ukraine, they said, okay, we have to go back as soon as possible. We want to build up our houses again when it's possible, when the occupied areas are free again. And I think this doesn't change, but most of the people fear that there is coming more and more from the Russians, and it's getting more dangerous, so they can't come back at the moment. But I think most of the people want to come back because they love their country, it's their home, and they want to come back to their homes. Yeah.
Дякую.
Thank you. If there are no more questions, I'm thankful for being with us today. We do not want to distract you from supporting people. You can join your chief executive officer helping there. Thank you very much for coming to us today, and we are happy to see you here again. The next briefing will be in 30 minutes. We are waiting for the deputy mayor of Odesa. Stay tuned. It might be interesting for you.